What's up, everybody? Welcome to Book of Rhymes. I'm your host, DonWill, and today I have one of the top tier, most elite MCs in the game, Pharoahe Monch.
Peace.
What's
What's
up,
good,
man?
man? Thank you for having me.
I'm glad you can make it through, man. It's been a long time coming, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So let's just jump right in, man. I want to talk about a little bit of your early career shit, you know what I'm saying? First of all, what were some of your earliest musical memories? Like what kind of inspired you to become you?
Shit, man. It's so much, man. But I always start with the culture, not to sound corny in that answer, but it was just intriguing and amazing to see the shit blossom. You know, the whole spectrum of it, like from the graffiti side, which I know the people sounds wild, old, but like I went to art and design and I had a black book and I was that dude with the fat tip markers and, you know, tagging up shit, as well as, you know, earlier on, like for the first time seeing somebody like break, or when that shit was popular and those movies were out, it was just insane. And I wanted to be a part of this from the cultural aspect and not just, you know, I wasn't thinking about like MC record deal in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, so you basically trying to figure out what your place was
In the culture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you so you wrote for a little while in terms of like graffiti and like drawing and shit?
Yeah, just characters and drawing and shit, trying to become nice at that. You know, and like I've definitely lost weight since high school. And so back spinning and all that shit was like out of the question. So I was like, all right, so that aspect is gone.
You didn't have like the footwork and shit, the up rocking?
You can't do windmills when you're like 100 pounds top heavy and shit.
True.
So I was like, you know, I was beatboxing. I was fucking doing it all.
I saw you were beatboxing.
Yeah.
So like, what was the moment where you were like, you moved from beatboxing to actually just trying to like just rapping? You know what I'm saying?
Well, my boy, we still boys to this day. Ty Stick bought 2 turntables, and he was nice. And Prince Poe went to my school, and Percy P, and then later Prodigy, and then Kwame, and then, you know, Mob, and so many ill dudes. But anyway, I was like, grab Prince up. He was around the way. And I was like, yo, let's just go to my boy's house and kick it and like try to make a tape or something similar to how dudes be getting down in the park. Like, I wasn't even intrigued by the records like that. I was just loving the way the park routines was and the Cold Crush routines were. And so
not even to cut you off real quick, but like I can only imagine what it was like seeing that shit live. Like I've seen it. I'm from Ohio. I've seen like videotape and I've seen like a version of it, but I can't imagine like the energy of just like a park jam. You know what I'm saying? And like,
and it was ill, man. Like you could like hear the shit from blocks away before you could see the people or turn the corners. You hear the music thumping, and your heart would start racing, like. Cause you know, like it's still wild. It's still a hood. Like you could still get jumped or fucked up or whatever. So you walk into the shit and it's the vibe there and people are gathering. So it embodied the intrigue and the darkness of the shit on the late night park jam shit.
Yeah, cause like okay, so they were powering from the streetlights and shit, right?
Right.
And like the park jams were going to night, so it was just dark, right? Or am I tripping?
Exactly.
That shit seems like the most terrifying yet exhilarating shit in the world.
Oh
you
yeah,
know what I'm saying?
I'm from Southside, so we talking about Boss Crew, Grandmaster Vic versus Hollis. Like it was real crack era fucking, you know, coke. Dudes pulling up in Porsches and Ferraris and all types of shit. So it was like all the elements. You know, the Untouchables had fat gold chains, and other dudes was getting stomped out and jumped in the same jam. So it had that air that one time me and Nas was talking about, like it'll never go back to that scariness that you kind of felt when you could feel something was about to jump off.
Yeah.
In the club or in the park jam or whatever, which was a part of the darkness and the vibe of New York City that made it electrifying.
Like that energy, just that level of just you never know what could happen. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It still exists in a way, but it'll never go back to that. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? As a person who moved here from Ohio, you know what I'm saying?
It won't.
Yeah. So I missed out. You know what I'm saying? but so back to you, a tie stick, and I think you said Poe. Yeah, y'all were like formulating shit.
And we went in and I was like, yo, let's just do, you got some rhymes. I heard you at the lunchroom and shit. I got a little something and some beatbox shit. And I have something and we recorded and, made a tape of the shit and I took it home. And I just was like chilling and I put it in a box and pressed play. Was listening for a couple of minutes and was like, this is the wackest shit I've ever heard.
I thought it was going to go totally different. I thought you were going to be like, yo, this is amazing.
I was like, you suck. What the fuck are you doing? What is this beatbox shit? Like, I can hear it, like, as I'm listening back to it. And I was just like, these rhymes are whack. They don't sound like, they don't sound like the Boss Crew. They don't sound like what you're hearing on the radio. Like, and I think it's a big blessing that I was able to listen back myself and be like, you sound like shit, G. Like, what is this? Yeah. So that led to the lab, that everybody talks about, and the journey to try and find your voice and try and get better as an artist if you want to take the shit seriously. Because, I'm gauging myself at that point just off of what I'm hearing on the radio, what I'm hearing from different tapes I'm hearing. And I'm like, this ain't that, Yeah. So it's time to get the homework in right now at that point.
So how long would you say it took you to get not confident, because there has to be a level of confidence for you to even suck. You know what I'm saying? But like, how long did it take for you to get comfortable with like your voice or your version of doing your version of what you were hearing in the park?
After I was able to hear that I sucked, I was able to devise a plan how to get to where I would want to sound like and what I would want to sound like. And I was confident that we could have a voice because we were in the midst of, all the hood shit.
Yeah.
We were also nerds that were coming from art school and comic book heads. And, I was like, I think there's a voice in there in terms of the language, the slang, being able to relate to what it's like to be young black in New York at the time, as well as hit them with some Marvel shit they probably never heard before.
Right.
And I was quick to embrace all of those different elements.
Yeah, because like there was a level of relatability that like seeing Fudge Pudge and seeing like, you know what I'm saying, like Extinction and like seeing like those organized cuts, the early joints. I remember being able to relate to it on a level like, because I'm not like a hood dude, you know what I'm saying? I'm around it, I'm in it to a certain aspect, but it felt like, oh, you don't have to, you know what I'm saying? You can be a part of it, but not of it in a way.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can represent for people who might be like the thugged out niggas, but for the most part, you can still be yourself.
Right, and that's day one too. It's like what I thought was fly is like you had slang like don't front, like be yourself, and I could always detect when somebody was lying about who they were, what they were doing. I also had a mentality like, if I gotta choose an MC and it's one MC who just got out of prison and he killed people and he sucks, and it's another MC that has glasses and he's mad ill on the mic, I'm gonna be like, I don't give a fuck that your lyrics are real. Like, you suck. Like, this dude is nice. So it wasn't even a doubt in my mind like that which route to take. And also we had a plethora of artists at the time. Like as we're coming up, it's like, I'm influenced by KRS-One's enunciation, diction, authority, Chuck's vibrato, Rakim's ability to take the shit out of normal realms, Kane's fucking pocket and rhythm. So they were playing all these different things with different producers at the time, which is another thing you don't really get now. It's basically fewer amount of producers on the air,
right,
for kids to get influenced by, fewer amount of styles on the air for kids to get influenced by. You could go straight from like a De La Soul record into an Ultra Mag record into an NWA record back then.
Yeah. And so this was the early those days was simply too positive, right? That was
That was the demo stage.
okay.
Yeah.
Was that simply too positive? That was with Paul C.
Paul C. Definitely. Like
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about just Paul C
Yeah,
in
yeah,
general
yeah.
because, like, for me, I learned about Paul C a lot later. You know what I'm saying? Like, he definitely was a person who I'm still discovering things about him. So, like, just you being ground level with him and you like kind of working with him and like you produce shit with him. You know what I'm saying? He taught a lot of people a lot of things.
Yeah.
So, just speak a little bit about his tutelage and his inspiration and his influence.
Just an amazing human being, as well as just so dope and futuristic and ahead of his time on the beats and programming. And it's always emotional for me because at the time we were fresh out of high school. My pops was like, I'm gonna let you rock, but I'll give you a year. We found like a off-brand label that we were able to get professional contracts from. And while we were working in the legendary 1212 studio, Paul C had walked in on a session. Like, he wasn't even part of the session. We had another engineer and everything, and he walked in to get some equipment, and he just walked back out. And we were looking at each other like, oh shit, that was Paul C.
Yeah.
That was Paul C. We got a phone call the next day, and Paul was like, yo, whatever that was y'all was working on, y'all are ill, and I would like to work with y'all.
Yeah, that's so dope.
And man, like there are points in your hip hop career that you remember that affect you emotionally in such a way. I remember getting so excited off that phone call, you know what I mean? And so we started working out our voices really and becoming artists at that stage. We had started getting a buzz already, but like Paul C was the first one, for me to go in the studio and to work on something creative and as a producer just be like, yo, those last 4 bars was shit. You need to chop them shits off and figure out the math on this record.
Yeah.
Because it's really fucked up. And I would be like, but I'm Pharaoh. Like, who tells me that? Like, but we needed that at the time.
Absolutely.
And so, as crazy as the ideas were back then, like some of the demos, like we were rhyming to the bass line, crazy shit that he was like, yo, this is fucking insane what y'all are doing here. We just need to, make the arrangements dope.
Right.
And we worked on that demo. That's the famous demo that got to Bobito. And Bobito got it to Russell. Russell turned it down. Same time he turned Nas down. But then we wind up running into Russell again, and he hit us with the low ball offer, and we wind up going with the label out on the West Coast called Hollywood Records. But Paul C, before all of that happened, he got murdered.
Right.
And so for me, it's just still emotional because like he wasn't just a producer with us. Like we were going to see movies and hanging out and chilling outside of music. Like he knew the importance of being like, okay, we've been in the studio for 8 hours. We need to go grab some beers and, and hang out. And I was seeing my trajectory of where I could be under this tutelage. I already had confidence in myself as a MC, but I was like, yo, this combination could be ill. And so at that young age still, for him to be taken away like that was traumatic.
I could only imagine.
And just even like talking about it now is still like anger there. And I'm out of breath. Like I was upset in a way that I can't even explain. I just wanted to fucking hurt people.
Yeah, and you were a kid too.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like it's hard to process loss and other emotions like that when you're still like in your formative years.
So that's why, in a sense, just jumping from that, the first Organized album is very experimental because the structure was taken away from us. And all we had was like equipment. And we were like, we got the deal. We gotta finish this shit on our own. We gotta figure it out.
Yeah.
You know.
So how figuring it out, was it like, because man, like personally, that album is one of my favorite albums of all time, like hands down. Like I ran that shit front to back. I wore the tape out, had to buy a new one, all that shit. It's one of the most innovative. Like it was around the time when the LA like Project Blow cats. That was around the same time, right? I just remember, because it's sort of like this sort of like it's always a competition. You know what I'm saying, for fans.
Right.
And for me, I remember like, organized. It's organized, yo. It's organized. I'm in the Midwest. We're in the middle of everything, so we get all that shit.
Right.
And I just remember, man, like that album did a lot for me. You know what I'm saying? It spoke to me in a million ways. So just from a production standpoint, like how are you putting it together?
We were like bringing records to the studio. So like the pre-production, pre-get ready, you know, we didn't really have that shit. So a lot of that the ideas were happening in the studio.
Oh my God,
yeah.
Nigga, for real?
Yeah, definitely.
And that was when studio time cost money. Like that's crazy.
But see, that's another a misnomer about that time. Like it was budgets.
True.
Back then.
Okay. Yep.
We were fucking around sometimes, but like, you know, we would go to the studio and make music. You know, now you make music, which is better for arrangements and shit like that and writing, and then you go in the studio and you knock it out. At least I do. But at that time, you know, we were trying to create what was in our heads in the studio. For example, we had the record Hypnotical Gases, which goes from the slow beat to the fast beat. Yeah, I was listening to a lot of rock shit and jazz shit, and they had the tempo changes, and I wanted to go from something, you know, 85 to something fast to build it up. Anyway, like to do that back then and have the music change when all we had was 8 seconds of sample time on a fucking SP1200 was insane. So, you know, we were splicing tape, you know. That shit was just wow. And it was like, yo, if you fuck up this splice, we got to do this whole shit over again, you know.
It was like setting up dominoes when you like tip one over, they all fall down in the pattern and shit.
Exactly. So, yeah, man, like Paul C and just the ability to push us as writers, you know, and the jewels he was able to give us, you know. He would hear the song and he would be like, yo, this puts me in the mind of this. Go listen to these records. Do homework. You think you're doing homework, but you're not doing all the homework you could be doing. Yeah,
and speaking of like jewels and like kind of mentoring, we talked to OC a little while ago, and he was just talking about how you were one of like the big homie in a way. You know what I'm saying? Like, and which it makes complete sense when I think about how much I like OC as a rapper, but it's also one of those things that it blew my mind, you know, in this way, like it's still sharpening still. So like, what was that relationship like? Like, how did you meet OC?
He moved across the street on my block, and we were just fucking playing basketball and football and the regular shit that you do, you know. And I was like, yeah, me and my man get busy and and we already started and wop. He was like, yeah, I rhyme too. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ. Really?
Everybody rhymes.
Okay. And he spit, and I was like, holy shit. Okay. And then that started a whole new circle of just having someone on that level in the circle that we would just trade joints. Like,
yeah.
You know, Prince and him would come over the crib, and I'd just be like, yo, check it. And then they'd be like, that's cool, check this. And I'd be like, fuck. I gotta go back to the lab. Like, constantly we were doing that to each other. And it was the first time that I had, like, outside of Prince Poe, and then other people started joining in, like, a circle of cats that were pushing the envelope, and we were kind of like pushing each other.
Yeah, sort of like
we were doing. Yeah.
Sort of like the writer's bench in graffiti, how you sit down and show each other your sketchbooks and shit.
Exactly.
It's like it's even if they front on you a little bit, it's not like on some disrespect shit. It's on some like let me show you what I got though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
But those sessions back then were lethal. Like we came from the cracking era as well, but we were extra hard on each other. Like Prince would go in and lay a verse to a song, and then I go in after, and then I come out. You know, you look around the room for approval, and yo, OC and the crew would be like, yo, he just bust your ass, B. Like, you need to do that shit again, but he smoked the shit out of you. Like, you know, it's like, it was that type of, you know, roughness and honesty and jokes and shit to really, like, push ourselves.
Yeah, and it only makes everybody better. It makes the whole unit better.
Exactly.
I know that he said he still calls you like to like drop verses on you.
Yeah.
And I recently saw in an interview that Droog said he does the same thing, or he's done it before. Like, are you just like the MC whisperer, where niggas when they have your number, they call you like, yo, Monch, check this new shit out.
I don't know, man. I just appreciate it, so I show people I appreciate it. Like, I was listening to the OC joint on the Diamond D record, and he's just in a zone right now. And most of lyricism is still marginalized. So it doesn't do anything to say that people still sleep or whatever. I don't think people understand the depths in which true lyricism goes and what it encompasses. Like, the work that he did on the new Diamond D album, I'm just like, his pocket is just extraordinary to me. And it doesn't mean acrobatics or gymnastics pocket. It's just like the simplest way something will land, I have me be like, woo, just the way something complicated I have me do that. And Drew, just his approach to the pen, to the paper and the writing is just, it's nobody doing that. And that's what I like about MCs in general. Like, and that comes from the culture. You were looking for people to come into the game that's like, how are you elevating the game, or what are you putting into the game that nobody else is doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So going from organized to Pharoahe Monch solo, how hard was it to, I guess, reintroduce yourself as a solo act? Did it feel like a daunting task, or did it feel like something that you were just like, all right, well, now I'm gonna keep?
Right. It was kind of,
I know that was an abrupt transition, but you know what I'm saying?
It was kind of like I took a hiatus for a break from the Equinox joint, but then in the moment of being dormant, I realized I had all of these fucking pent up emotions, which was bugging me out, like, and I wanted to just vomit it out. And I was telling Prince at the time, I'm like, yo, these ideas, I think it would be unfair to be like, okay, put something on top of this. Like, it was like feeling really personal.
Yeah.
Which is why the first route I was taking with internal affairs was almost supposed to be similar to what PTSD turned out to be, because the stint in PTSD that I'm referring to on that album was during more or less the stress album, when I was hospitalized a lot. So when I got to internal affairs, I was like, yo, like, it's a lot of pent up emotions and all of this shit. So I just read it as dark, which is why that album is kind of like in a dark space and pretty, I don't want to say hardcore, but more aggressive.
Yeah, it has an edge to it.
Yeah, it has an edge to it. And that was just, it just kind of vomited out. And also, like, when you're in a group situation, it's difficult to do all these different features.
Yep.
So at the time, I was like, I want to use cannabis and quality and and MOP, and which is why the record is kind of feature heavy.
Yeah.
I think I shine on the record, but it's still, you know, I think it's meaningful features still.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you seem like the type of cat that doesn't really have things in place for no reason. Like, you definitely have an intention with all your stuff, and also the features, for me anyway, they always provide context for the artist. So for me, it's like it's sort of like the algorithm before the algorithm. You know, if you're on Spotify and you go down and, like, people also search for XYZ.
Right.
You're curating that for people prior to, like, the algorithm even existing.
Right. Anyway. So yeah, you know, I did want to test the shit out. Like I recorded a couple of joints, and I was like, this is not something that I want to do. I'm like sports dude, team player. My original thoughts wasn't to be a solo artist. I don't think I could have had that career without organized confusion. Like I wasn't that dude. Like I didn't even. I'm like sports dude. Like I'm like football team.
It's about the team,
right? So in that space, I was like, you need to like go out on the road. It's not just about making records. So Bobito had this run he was doing in Europe, and he asked me to go, and it was like literally me by myself with no DJ and a DAT player.
That's a long way from having a team.
I put myself under that pressure purposely to have the crowd or to have me feel like, what you gonna do, motherfucker? Like, you want to do this shit for real, solo? What is it gonna be?
Pressure.
There you go. You know like, show and prove. Prove to yourself, prove to these people that you're worthy of this, and it's not just coming off the heels of something. Also, record the records so record labels could be like, okay, this has an edge to it, and it feels this way.
Yeah, it sounds like you had like a strategy going into it. It wasn't haphazard.
Definitely, because the offers were there. You know what I mean? I was getting offers, but I was like, let me take the time out to work out what your voice is going to be outside of the team.
Yeah, and speaking of voice, you have a very dynamic voice.
Okay.
You sing on projects.
Okay.
My question is a two-part question. Have you ever considered a fully self-produced project or like a full-on singing project?
Man, I get beat over the head. I literally get beat over the head with this question all the time.
I
Management, producers, like straight up Illmatic fucking hip-hop producers. I'm not even going to say any names. Have been like, yo, I want to do a singing album with you. And I'm just like, man, it takes me so long to do projects. I'm like, man, that's crazy.
And not even to cut you off, but I think it's, for me as a listener, it's fun to hear you do like sing really well in small quantities. You know what I'm saying? It's really, it's like this sort of thing where it's just like, oh shit, this nigga can cook too. Like, what the fuck is happening? You know what I'm saying? It's a fun thing that happens when you like do the hook or some shit. You know what I'm saying?
think that's why I get a pass, because I'm not obviously not a fucking natural vocalist, but I think it gets a pass when it's dibs and dabs and you hit upon an emotion that's emotionally cuts through. And that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for honesty in the vocal. As soon as I would hear a vocal from me that sounded like that shit did not come from his gut, soul, heart, stomach, I'd be pissed off.
That's the perfect way to put it, the honesty, because like I think that the first time I noticed you singing was on My Life.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like some Negro spiritual shit. Mm-hmm. It felt like some chain gang church shit. It didn't feel like a motherfucker that was classically trained. It felt like a person that just understood their voice well enough to articulate it vocally like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And it's been proven that when you hit upon that, it gets the average listener to join in because it's easier for them to sing because it's not perfectly sung, which is even when you go back to like Mary J's first stuff.
This some science shit right here. I'm fucking with it.
It's really dope, but she wasn't as good as a singer then as she is now.
Right.
So the whole community emotionally, as well as she being from the hood and us knowing her story, but emotionally, like dudes would be. I see thugs like I'm like, look at you, B, like you at the concert dancing like Mary right now. What are you doing? Like, we felt her like that and still feel her like that to this day. But that's one of the reasons why there was a tinge there that was like, she's just a girl from down the hallway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other part, have you ever like considered producing a whole thing on your own? Because you produce tracks on each one of your album, like a handful.
I think that might be the next step after this record, because this next record is taking so long because it's the musicality in it. Some of the shit is just straight up fucking a head nod thing, but some of the shit is intricate and it takes time to get the pieces because I don't have a green lighted budget in the studio to bring string fucking pieces in to get what I hear.
You take so much time with each project that, you know what I'm saying? Like a soundbite like that, getting ahead of what you want to put out becomes a thing.
Right.
And then the thing you're putting out becomes about that thing. But we'll get back to the album process in a minute. Was there a moment where you decided like that having your own label was the way to go, or was it like an accumulation, cumulative kind of an event? Like it was like a bunch of little things adding up to this moment, or was it like just one day you were like, in the same way you remember that call from Paul C, do you remember like the day you were like, I got to do War?
Definitely.
Media?
It led up to it, but I remember it, distinctively. Even with the Desire record, the industry had already dramatically started to change. By the time, like I had a bidding war with that album. By the time that shit happened, my lawyer was already like, no one's even doing contracts like this anymore. And then all of a sudden I get hit with 4 standard. And he was like, what the fuck, who does this? You know what I'm saying? So it had already started to switch. By the time I came on the other side of that, my manager guy was like, yo, you need to do a record where you're literally like just standing on a crate. It feels business-wise, marketing-wise, and just availability-wise, like you're just right there standing on a crate in front of the people who loves you and you're rhyming. No, fluff, no label, no nothing, right at eye level, because Desire brought a bunch of new fans into the fold. At the same time, what was happening was that the label was spending money in weird places.
Yeah. Places you don't really have control
right,
over.
Where fans of mine were missing it, and they were still like, yo, when you gonna put a record out? I'm like, I'm on a fucking major label. Like, what's happening right now? And so the War record, which was independent, War Media / Duck Down, caught Desire in record sales. And you could tell what era we're still in, and it's still kind of changing because the record sold, and that fucked me up too. Like, I'm like, damn, like people supported this shit. Now records ain't selling for shit. Like, you can't get a record to sell.
If you sell 1,000 records, 10,000 records, it's a big deal. You know what I'm saying?
7,000 records in the first week will get you charted in Billboard. You know what I'm saying? Just to go from 50 Cent doing 1 million something first week.
That's insane, that math right there. You know what I'm saying? Like the where we are now, it feels like it's decline. It's on a steady decline too.
Right.
So I want to get a little bit more into like the technical side of things in terms of like you as a writer, because for me, you're one of the best technical writers in the game, and your rhymes are as cutting edge then as they are now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if you go back and look at some of your older stuff, like what you're doing lyrically is bar for bar, pound for pound, good enough to come out in 2020 on a new nigga's record. You know what I'm saying? So where do you get the inspiration? Like what inspires you still to this day?
I mean, man, it might sound like dick shit, but I listen back and I'm like, do you believe you? Whatever. If it's in the simplest, this line, stick to your ribs. The way you say that, stick to your ribs,
that conviction,
like, is it honest? Like, you could say some shit going back to when I first started at the beginning of this interview. You could say some shit, write some shit that is fly. You call OC and you asked him and you said it. You called Droog and you're like, yo, I text him the line. And he's like, yo, fire emoji and shit.
Yeah.
And then you could go to the studio and lay that shit and be like, B, like, I don't believe you. Like, how are you going to get somebody else to believe that shit? So it's just a way that has to be finessed as well. And, I'm still on it then. I don't think, I give a fuck as much about the gymnastics, in the past years. But this up and coming project has some gymnastics on it that are, like, in my opinion, organized.
Oh my God.
Level.
Oh nigga, for real?
So I was
Let's go.
I was like, let's go back to that on some of this shit.
Yeah.
Where it sounds purposeful. That's another thing. Like, you just can't be anywhere with that shit, or else it sounds like, you know.
Like again, like you're an artist of intent. Like even the time it takes to put out a project, the time you put into writing rhymes. How do you deal with editing yourself? You know what I'm saying? I know that like when you hear your shit back, like I'm imagining your notebook. Like you just tearing pages out, throwing shit to the side, or are you like deleting phone notes or like all that shit?
Definitely, because it's how I come to the ending point, the end game of, I believe what you said. It is a bit of equations there, which is, this shit needs to sound like you it's off the cusp and it's from your soul, so you got to say it in a certain way, as well as it needs to be intricate, as well as the rhyme needs to be a double entendre and it needs to be dope. So when I listen back to it, you know, it's now in this stage, it's about maybe simplifying it down to get the point across, or building it up to get the point across. It's what any writer would do in any writing form, book, script. Shit just hits the cutting room floor if the scene is not dope.
Yeah.
You know, if the exchange of language is not dope in this scene that you need, this is the scene that's going to make the film. You need it to be flawless. And so when I listen back, if it's not that, then it's got to go. But you know, even that breath in the scene, or the stutter in the scene, where it creates authenticity, and it's not perfect, is dope in hip hop too, and dope for dope lyricism as well. There'll be takes where you can hear my mouth lip part stutter. Wait, was that exactly in the pocket on the kick? No, it wasn't. But that kind of makes it feel like you contemplated, you know. So all that shit you listening to.
Yeah, like there's this meticulous sort of like master craftsmanship to it that is just like, a lot of people don't consider that aspect of writing. Like a lot of people don't. When I say they don't consider, they don't think about like all that goes into it. So is there a rhyme you're currently stuck on? Like I'm not saying writer's block wise. I'm saying in terms of like just trying to massage it and get it to the right point.
Man, there's this one joint I wrote that I laid 8 times so far, and I'm still sitting with it. But it's golden right now. It's butter. It's butter. I think only Droog has heard this song, you know, because he actually threw me the beat. He's like, yo, this sounds like you and shit. It's not on the project.
Okay.
It's just an ill beat that I was like, yo, I gotta write to this. This is me. So you know, as I kept cutting it, I would send it to like Lee Stone, Guy, and they would be like, you sound like you don't know where the pocket is. You sound like you fucking are hesitant. I don't believe you. What the fuck? Because the beat is weird. You sound like you're not, you know. And I'm just like, wow, okay. Let me go try it again. Same rhyme, let me just try it again. And that shit is dope to me, to be like, fucking, I'm angry. Nah, that shit's not that. Fucking, I'm extra quiet on these lines right here. Nah, that shit is whack too. You know, like
yeah. So do you ever go back and like the first, after 8, 9 takes in, you ever go back to the first one like, I had it right there? Or is
exactly
your trusted counsel of editors that are along with you, are they like kind of like?
Exactly. Like in today's technology too, you could like, you know, chop.
Yeah, so I do that a lot. Like I record directly in and like move bars around and shit, and like kind of get it, finesse it to where I want it to be, then consider to redo that.
Exactly.
So it's this era now where everything is so fast, and like you're admittedly like a writer who you take your time. Do you feel like that puts any pressure on you? Like, do you feel like the space we exist in now in terms of like creation, music creation, has put any pressure on you? Or you're square and solid in your process?
Yeah, I think you do have to start all over again when you go past the point of the 3-year shit. But I just think people don't give a fuck about music anymore, or the artists. They'll just fucking forget you. And I can only go by my own self and how much I buy into the art and caring and not caring. And like right now I'm in a space, if I feel something is pretentious, if I look at you and you're visual and you look like it's more about the jacket than it is about the song, I'm like, fuck this song, you know, fuck this project. Like, I think artists went through a period with the consumer where it was like, you just using me at this point. I don't know whether you even love what the fuck you're doing in that way. Like, so, that's why, I just spend a lot of time in honesty. And then another portion of it is I tour a lot. So I'll put something down, go on the road, come back, knock out another thing. And the new project is not just me. It's not just a Pharoahe Monch record. It's a group effort. I don't want to say who else. It's like a band. And it's taking time because of that, because members are all throughout America and touring and doing other shit and making money. So it's taking a while to get together. But it's done. It's done. We're mixing it. And it's I think the whole shit is insane, but it's definitely like 5 fire joints on there that are different. Every time I play it for someone, they say this is ill because it's you, but it's not like anything that's out right now.
Right. So how do you know when a project's done? Like, how did you know when the current one is? How did you know, like, okay, this is finished? As a person who edits yourself, and as a person who like is very meticulous and I forgot the word I was looking for, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I just was like, I need one of these records and I need one of those records. I need a record that makes me want to fucking stab a baby seal in the fucking eye. I need a record that is emotionally love the way you haven't expressed love ever before. How could you express love in a way that's not cheesy and no one has done it before, and make that shit like a rock ballad with heavy ass drums? Yeah, that's what I want, and I just look until I get it.
Yeah, like how, like, so you just basically dream and imagine. How long did it take you to even? How long did this project take from, I guess, the moment where you knew you were working on it until like now, until it was finished?
I don't want to say.
Okay, I respect that.
I don't want to say because the overall amount of hours spent is way smaller than when I started.
Yeah,
because I came up with the idea fucking after Desire. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
And then the guy was like, you need to just rap and fucking throw Immortal Technique on the record and Black Thought on the record and fucking rap. Shut the fuck up and rap, and people want to hear you rap.
Shout out to Guy.
and then it goes back this way, and then it goes back that way. And this is done. It's sick. I'm in love with it. I think people are gonna fuck with it. At the end of the day, it's just an aggressive, fucking hard, dark, evil record.
So, War, PTSD, there's like this thread moving through the albums, and at least I might be overthinking it. I tend to overthink things, but does this one kind of continue that thread? Because in my mind, it's like you go to war, you come home, you got PTSD. What's the next installment? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if that was intentional, or
it was.
Okay, so is the theme continued, or is there like a deviation of sorts? Because it's all coming from you, so it's all gonna be
right. It's kind of like a jump. But I can't hear yet whether it's a jump back to where internal affairs and organized meet, or it's a jump forward to something.
This shit is like a TV show movie. It's like in my mind, I'm like, this is a flash scene. Like one of the scenes where you flash into like a different era.
So there's aspects of the record that feels like, man, this is right in the cusp, in the love, in the pocket of 1994. There's records on the shit where I'm like, I haven't heard anything like this before. Let's do it, man. Let's fucking. How do you ever achieve anything, especially in this culture, if you're not taking a chance with a vibe or a sound? And it's also taking a while because I need the shit to stay authentic to hip hop. The problem that I've had with groups that have done like, rock type shit is it got a little loose for me. It didn't keep like the tightness of certain things. Yeah, I'm rambling now.
Yeah. It's one day the listeners will understand when the album comes out. You know what I'm saying? The way you talk about writing and creating albums is almost like a director or like a filmmaker. Like, have you ever actually written a script or like written anything like?
All the time. It's books and it's ideas that I need to finish. And I'll do that type of writing. Sometimes I'll do that type of writing and turn it into a song, which I did a lot of on this record, which is, some of the songs are longer. It's barred the fuck out. Like, some of the songs are just a song with a song structure.
Yeah.
But like a continuous 90 bars. I can't explain it. But that's one of the songs with people like, yo, you gotta put this out. Like, you're waiting on it too long already. Like, but the way I thought about that song is this is what I would want to see in the opening scene, and the movie gets to this point, and then I stopped writing it. So I'm like, fuck it, you got to write this ending, and I did, and I made it into a song.
Yeah, so like, and even like the way you deliver your rhymes, just like this animation, this sort of like voice acting character to your voice. Like, you did a perfect job of embodying Chuck D on the "Welcome to the Terror Dome." You know what I'm saying? Like for a minute, I was like, is this Chuck D on the song? You know what I'm saying? There's this level of care to the style that's being used on each record. You know what I'm saying?
Definitely, and again, for me, with solo, I thought about that too. Like, I get bored. So what I think to myself, what made you not get bored with a PE record or a Rakim record or a solo artist that you were like, yo, I could just listen to this whole shit? And I'm like, dude, like, you just can't be in that tone all the time. You got to be expressive in different emotion. You got to take your voice places damn near with people like, is that still him? Like,
yeah.
In order to make the shit interesting, to just ear candy wise. So I'm mindful of that shit all the fucking time, only because I listen to artists and I'd be like, I'm tired of listening to this motherfucker now.
Like, you get 30 seconds in, like, okay, I get the gist. I know what's gonna happen. Yeah. I got it. So I like to do this thing with artists where I quote their rhymes to them, and I like just get some input about the process and like what was going on, or like just to celebrate the bars that I enjoy. And I got a couple. One of my favorite verses of all time is the verse on "Bring It On," and stylistically, it's one of those things where it blew my fucking mind. I'm gonna read it, you know what I'm saying, and I'm not gonna butcher it, but I'm gonna read it, and it won't convey the same way that it does on the record. But I flow awkwardly. That's awkwardly. I flow to the rhythm. Incisions are made into the brain, and then I begin to give them a lobotomy. Follow me. I'm shaping your brain like pottery all over the track. Give me the PH, give me the AR, give me the OA, give me the HE, Pharaoh. Crazy poison tipped arrows are hitting you from every direction. You cannot manage to dodge or dislodge them from the point in which they are connecting. Then you do the stutter style shit. Okay. I don't know how to I'm fucking up your bars. I know you're sitting there like, this nigga is tearing my bars up in front of my face. But just, I'm gonna stop right there and just like, what the fuck was happening to make you do that? You know what I'm saying? That shit is, to this day.
Damn, thank you, B. Like, yo, man, I mean, that was at just a point where it was like, yo, we need to differentiate ourselves from shit that's happening right now. And again, it was what was going on at the time. I'm like, yo, we got, I'm fans of everything that's out right now. You got all these different, movements and different vibes from Nubians to De La and Tribe and Souls and just shit that's out, and you're like, where are the spaces that nobody is in the songs, in the beats? Where are the pockets that would stand out if somebody was to listen to this? That's it. It's like, what is this approach gonna be to this song? Like, and you're constantly challenging yourself in that era. Like, why do you deserve to have people's ear?
And in terms of pockets, like, how did you even find the pocket to kick? The stutter style you kicked was so, like, it felt unintentional. It was very deliberate, very intentional. But like, as a listener, it felt like he's just actually stuttering. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's hard to do that and then come back as like a performing vocalist. Like, that's just masterful performance of a verse. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you, man. I don't know, man. Yo. Yo, we were on some shit, and it wasn't a lot of lanes left. So I'm like, we gotta make a fucking lane. So
y'all paved it, and a lot of niggas driving on that shit right now. You know what I'm saying?
But what was dope, again, like even just trying shit like that, which was risk taking. So many artists have been like, yo, and then after that album, like, I had shit in the chambers, like, but that shit let me know, let your shit go, shoot your shot. You know what I'm saying? And then that's what the culture was about then. Like, what's up next? What's up next? Who's up next? What's gonna happen next that makes you feel like that shit made you feel? Yeah. And that's what it was about. For me, that's what it was about. It was about, like, I want to know what heads are gonna think when I drop this shit.
Word. So moving on to PTSD, the song "Broken Again." The bars are: squeeze 7 cc's so I could see the 7 C's, and CC all my friends so they could see what I was seeing. But what they saw was a despicable human being. So I guess they just wasn't seeing what I was seeing. Convert 2 into 1 in an indivisible plan to discover what dreams may come for this invisible man. Like that. I know the song is about heroin, like the song is about drug addiction, but it could easily be about love or about obsession or about anything. There's a sort of like transcendental nature to the verse.
Right.
I'm pretty sure that was deliberate. So just speak a little bit about like the thought process in approaching this song.
So all of those bars that you just read, I was researching and like going, online, like, how many cc's does it take for somebody to get high off a heroin shot? And I'm like, does it matter? Does it matter if I say this or if I say that? And then I came to the conclusion it doesn't matter, and you should say 7 cc's because 7 cc's lends itself to the 7 C's.
Right. Yeah, because heroin addicts ain't measuring out that shit. They just taking the hit. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So I was like, you're over fucking thinking it, bro. So, and then after that, I'm just like, you need to have things in this verse that people could look back on, like the whole invisible man, and lines after that is about books or book references that deal with certain things as well. So they make sense, but they're all different books, and it's definitely a relationship. The woman in the song I'm talking about, which is the double entendre, was a drug to me. She's the drug as well. She's the relationship.
Yeah.
And now my heart is broken again because the relationship didn't work out yet again. And then also, did she drive me to drugs? All these questions, the writing is designed to have the person ask themselves that. And I know people have heard it different ways because I've done shows and concerts and people have waited backstage and been like, I was a heroin user.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking at them like, like it's really helped that album really helped a lot of people, man. If I could post the amount of DMs in terms of mental health, depression, anxiety that I get from that record, that song in particular, it's insane. So to get back in the energy and love off of PTSD is unlike anything I've ever experienced. And so that's why I was like, if you're gonna choose to go PTSD after this war album, it can't just be because, oh, that makes sense.
Right. You
got to dig into your own actual depression and be forthright and as real as possible about it. I'm trying to be real about what I went through and be lyrical as well.
It doesn't compromise
right.
at all. Yeah.
Without compromising. And then I was like, what did it feel like for you to be at your wit's end in that dark space where you're contemplating fucking suicide? What does that feel like musically? So a lot of the album is slower for that reason, because time was just fucking dragging.
Yeah.
You look up and it's be like a fucking 10 seconds just dropped off the clock, like whatever. So I needed that shit to feel like that as well to get that vibe across with that record. And it's bugged because, again, I was pulling from the medical shit I was going through during the Extinction Agenda Stress, Crush, Kill, Destroy record, which I was just overly hospitalized and the medication was just fucking with my brain at the time.
Yeah, see, I thought the 7 cc's was in reference to that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
mm-hmm.
So it's layered. You've done a job. You've done this thing where you've been so vulnerable, and with this record was so vulnerable, it kind of made me look at everything else through a different scope, through a different lens. You know what I'm saying? Next one, Post-Traumatic Stress Disorder, the title track. Thought I knew all it was just to know the ledge, till I glanced down at all 10 toes on the ledge. Before I heard what sounded to me like a pledge. Emerged from the darkness, and this is what it said. Do not despair, breathe, fight, for there is more to live, believe. More insight to share, retrieve. Must dare to be illustrious. Exhale, hold, inhale, receive, and love. It's sort of like, it's the moment where you can tell you're fighting. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And that's a beautiful thing for this record because, again, like the record has gymnastics on it, but it's moments like this where, like, I come to you for gymnastics.
Right.
And it was like, oh, you're actually a person too. You know what I'm saying?
Right. So it was important, on this record, I realized that not only have I done gymnastics, but I've, been a bullet. I've been an unborn child. I've been all these inanimate fucking objects. And as a fan, I know I'm bugging people out talking in fucking second person, first person. As a fan of hip hop, I felt like I would be looking at myself at this point like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
So who's Pharoahe? Like, you're not a fucking bullet, like, who's the person? So I literally wanted to dabble into a little bit about what I went through for the PTSD shit and the reality of it. If you follow me all, I'm a fucking sports nut.
Yep.
And a clown, and I follow a bunch of people that are funny as hell, like Hex Murder, and Droog is funny as hell on Twitter, and laughter is the key to all of the shit. So I just wanted to give people a part of that because that's the internet has been great for me in that it's like before that shit I was like a monk in the hills somewhere, some mystery MC. But I think this shit has allowed people to be like, yo, this is a dude, he went through a bout with depression. He's an avid, fucking crazy sports fanatic, and he's silly as fuck.
Yeah. And I wanted to ask if 24 Hours or what's the other joint?
Yayo.
Are either of those two going to be on the upcoming record?
Nah.
Just some Lucy shit?
Yeah, there's just Lucy's, and the project sounds nothing like that.
Man, I can't wait to hear what it sounds like then, because both of those joints are fire.
Thank you, man.
But yeah, so I had one more, but I think we got to get out of here. Mika's flashing me the 60 minutes. She's like, get off the mics. So, you know what I'm saying? I'll spare you butchering your rhymes one more time. But yeah, tell the people where they can find you, man.
That was dope, though.
Thank you.
I'm Pharoahe Monch all over on IG, Twitter, Facebook. I'm mostly on IG. But yeah, the new projects is dope. I got records coming up. More Lucy's. I got a joint with one of my favorite collaborators, Styles P, that I feel really rivals the My Life joint. It like harkens back to that. It's really, really dope. We want to shoot a video for it. I got another insane record with Fame, but it's for his project. I've been trying to get it away from him.
I was waiting to say you've been trying to steal it from him.
That's how sick it is. And just been working like, you know, just like in the same vein of kind of like what Black Thought was doing with his projects. I have joints that I want to just give to the people that are not a part of this up and coming project, because this up and coming project is a very dear to my heart type of thing that I've been working on for a minute, and I want to, you know, put it out in a certain way.
Yeah, so I'll be on the lookout for all that stuff, as will all of our listeners. My name is DonWill, and you're listening to Book of Rhymes podcast. You can find us everywhere at Book of Rhymes Pod, and you can find me here on the podcast.
Black Thought, Pharoahe, the rap duet. It's that lucid rapid eye. My thing tanks like a piranha tank thing. Multiple bites, figure, mega, reality, terror, giga, grand theft auto.